I'm an officer in a billet in the Army that had me tied up in an investigation. I knew from speaking around town to a couple different lawyers that Mark was a former judge advocate, so they knew that he knew military law very well, so I got tied in with him to help me clear my name. Prior to contacting Mark, my biggest fears were just general uncertainty around the process involving an investigation through the command. So I didn't really know military law that well, and Mark has been advising me every step of the way to make sure that I'm squared away and can get back to doing my job as opposed to dealing with all this other stuff surrounding it.
I get a lot of military clients, and we still have a very heavy footprint on all of the military reservations here. And consistently, when I get that first phone call from a soldier or an airman, one of the first things that they're concerned about is how is this going to affect my career? And that's a very legitimate concern. What our goal with that military client is letting them know how that civilian case could affect their military career. And the reason why we're able to give them that advice is our experience on both sides of the equation. Listen, I've been doing the civilian side of things for 25 plus years. But in that period of time, I've also represented a huge amount of soldiers and airmen who also could potentially face repercussions in their military career because of the civilian charges. I was on active duty as a JAG officer at Fort Carson for many years. I'm very familiar with how the chains of command can react, and there's a variety of things that can happen to a soldier. They can get an Article 15. They can get adverse counseling. They can get a general officer letter of reprimand. They can get administratively separated. They can even be court-martialed. What our goal is to limit the damage on both sides of that equation, both as to what happens in the civilian sector for those civilian charges, but also collaterally how it affects that soldier or airman on post. And we have a skill set that's very well suited for both sides of that problem.
My specific case, I definitely couldn't have done it without a lawyer, and it certainly helps that Mark has so much military experience that he can draw from, and he knows the inside of the system so that he can help make educated decisions and write things in ways that address your concerns and address the concerns of your senior commander. The thing I like most about working with Mark is that, one, he's a small business, so he's not just a plant from some national law firm somewhere. He works for himself, and the other thing I like about Mark is he makes you feel at home. So while you're there in his office, he's doing everything he can to help take care of you and make you feel comfortable and let you know that things are gonna be okay.
During the course of my career, I've represented soldiers both on and off post. We still represent soldiers in courts martial. We represent them in administrative separation boards. We represent them on things like general officer letter of reprimands. And so pretty much any kind of misconduct related action by the chain of command against a soldier or an airman, we have the skill set available to represent soldiers and airmen for. It's a very, very different system. There are different rules in terms of court-martial proceedings than in a civil trial, and the possible consequences are very different in a criminal courtroom in the military court-martial proceeding versus in a civilian jury setting. So what I tell my clients is that if you have a military-related issue, whether it's a court-martial proceeding, whether it's an administrative separation board, or whether it's in the less serious spectrum of what the chain of command can do, you need an experienced attorney who has had those types of cases in the past. I have been handling military clients with virtually every possible scenario that the chain of command can bring to bear against those military clients for almost 35 years. So we certainly have the skill set to help those folks.
Every time I went to his office, it was right in, right at home, straight to business, and he was on the case. His assistant Kim was awesome. So both of us would sit down. She actually made me a grilled cheese sandwich one time because I was there over lunch. Mark sacrificed his lunch break to help me work on something so that he could hit a deadline that I had. I have nothing but positive things to say. He's super easy to work with, and I think that he'll make you feel taken care of.
We are still on the direct attorney referral list from the Legal Assistance Office at Fort Carson. And I consider that a high honor because not many attorneys are on that list. We've been on it continuously since I got out of the military from active duty. And since then, we receive referrals directly from the Fort Carson legal office. So if you're on active duty or you're a dependent of an active duty member, please don't hesitate to contact us. I'm happy to chat with you free of charge. We give military discounts, anyone who's on active duty or their dependents. We try and do as much for those service members as we can.